Hi, I'm Scott Davis, and welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding this challenging and yet very hopeful time. This is the care and feeding of a New World Age report for May 10th, 2013, and One Ahau, or Sun, in the Mayan Tzolkin calendar. And we're also going to discuss Mercury moving into Gemini, followed by the Sun moving into Gemini. And May 10th is One Ahau, or Sun, and this carries themes of honoring our ancestors, flowers, light, ascension, co-creation, unconditional love, enlightenment, opening up to new possibilities and beginnings, wholeness, and the awakening to miracles. And I really love that flowers is one of the symbols of Ahau, because the name Patanjali, who was the author of the Yoga Sutras, means one who casts flowers through time, which is a quality of Ahau, is that the ancestors are casting their wisdom through time. And Ahau is considered to be one of the most sacred of the day signs, because life would not exist on the earth without the warmth and the light of the sun. And being both a wave and a particle, light transcends form. This 13-day period is about shining a light on any uncertainty, honoring the ancestors, and taking time to purify our light so that we can heal our spirits and Mother Earth. And when I thought about Ahau, ancestral wisdom that is cast through time so that we can open up to new possibilities and move forward, move towards wholeness and awaken to miracles, I realized that human design is based on 4 ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understand our potential and to discover our path in making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. Human design is based on the ancient wisdom traditions of astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. And you're probably wondering how all these systems work together in HT. Well, we start by looking at the position of the sun and the moon, planets, and nodes as they would be in the chart. But instead of looking at them in reference to zodiacal constellations and to each other, we look at them in relationship to the hexagrams of the I Ching, which are then mapped to specific locations in the body graph. For instance, at the beginning of this Trisena, we have the sun in the 23rd hexagram. It's also in Taurus, but in the 23rd hexagram, and that gets mapped to a specific location in the body graph, which happens to be right there at the top of the throat. And these shapes in the body graphs are called centers, and they represent the next stage in the evolution of humans from having 7 chakras to now having 9 centers. And the sun in the 23rd hexagram gets mapped to an opening in an energy channel, and that opening is called a gate. And like I said, the 23rd gate is located right here at the top of the throat and pointing up towards the ajna center. The pathways between the centers are called channels, and those pathways have come from the Kabbalah. So basically, the ancient systems that we're looking at the planets just the way they would have been when we look at it in astrology, but instead of looking at it as zodiacal constellations, we're looking at them as mapping into these hexagrams, these stacks of lines from the I Ching, and then those locations are then mapped to specific points in the body graph, and the centers in the body graph are like the centers in the chakra system, and then the channels that connect the centers together are all coming from the Kabbalah. So this is all these 4 ancient systems blended together in order to give us something completely new. And I found that human design is just amazingly accurate, and it's my primary tool when I provide readings. So I thought a new beginning, I would explore the human design neutrino forecast as well as the astrology transits with the Tzolkin day signs. And As it turns out, this is a really interesting point to begin this discussion because we have two channels defined that will be affecting us for the entire Trecena. First of all, we have Uranus, and Uranus is right here. It's in the 21st hexagram, and in Aries, but the 21st hexagram. And then we have Jupiter down here in the 44th hexagram, and these two line up. Those gates are on either end of a channel, the 2145 channel, that we call the money line. Here's the 21 down here where Uranus currently is located, and the 45 up here where Jupiter is at the time of this Trecena. And the money line is tribal, so it's really about resources and support of the family and those people that, even if they're not our blood, they're part of our tribe or our extended family. So it's really those people that are really core in our lives. So during this Trecena, this will have the effect of conditioning folks to gain resources through their willpower, and this red center here is the will in human design. And connecting up to the throat, this is a manifestation channel. So this is really about manifesting things through willpower, and often without others to collaborate with. This channel is really kind of focused on just doing it itself. And this is really also going to bring a focus onto who are the haves and who are the have-nots on the material plane. This is going to be a time period when people will believe that they can manifest what they want through their will, which is going to complete on May 27th. So the folks who have not completed their will to materialism by that date are going to find that their efforts will fall flat after the 27th. And often, other than those two planets in tribal gates, when we begin this Trecena, all the other planets are in individual gates. Okay, and individual circuitry is about empowerment that comes from being who you're meant to be instead of following the conditioning of our families and schools, religions, governments, all those things that, where people tell us what we're supposed to be or who we are or what our purpose is. And individual channels are said to be deaf, so that they really don't hear the others. And the reason they're deaf is so that they don't get distracted from their authentic path. And we have, at this point, we have Pluto down here in the 38th hexagram, and Saturn is retrograding back into the 28th hexagram up here. So what we get with the 28, 38, this is called the channel of struggle, which is going to be affecting us all until the beginning of August. And this brings experiences where people struggle against overwhelming odds. It's through this archetypal hero's journey of fighting for our purpose that empowers others to stubbornly fight for what holds meaning for them. This Trecena begins with the Sun-Earth axis up here between the 23 and the 43, which gives us this channel, and it's called the channel of structuring, and we're going to be having that until May 14th. And this is about individuals having amazing insights that require two conditions to be fulfilled, that two conditions are fulfilled so that that this is actually recognized by others. First of all, the person that has the epiphany needs to wait to be invited to share his or her insight. And second, they need to be able to explain their idea in a step-by-step process so that their audience can methodically understand how this quantum leap in thinking was arrived at. More likely, this is going to be a time period where people just blurt out whatever is on their minds. So I suspect that we're going to encounter more people acting like they're freakish than actually fulfilling the full energy of the channel, which is bringing out this real genius thought process. But it's only going to be recognized as being genius if first of all, it's invited to be shared, and second of all, you can explain it. Like back when I was in school, if I had a math problem and I could just look at it and write out the answer, the teacher would always say, you have to show your work. That's what this channel is about. So between now and May 14th, we're really looking at showing our work, showing that what we understand, doing it in a step-by-step process. And if we can do that rather than just jumping in our explanation from point A to point Z, then people will say, oh my God, this person just has this brilliant genius idea. Whereas if we go through and we just go, and instead of going point A, point B, point C, through the whole process, if we just jump, then people are going to just think we're freaks, because they're not going to understand how you get from the seed to to bearing the fruit. And then on May 13, Mercury moves into the 8th hexagram, which is located up here, and this creates the channel of inspiration, with the North Node being down here in the 1st hexagram. So we'll put up that channel. And whenever you have a channel defined, you also, then the centers on both sides of the channel get defined. So through this transit of Mercury moving into the 8, we get a defined G center. And this energy will be present until the 20th, which will be a time period when people have the courage to stand out from the crowd and by really being their authentic self. And this is really very creative, and it's also exhibited as self-expression in people doing what's really unique to them. It's another individual channel. So individual channels, again, it's about empowerment, and it's empowerment to those who model being different and inspirational, and through that, other people say, wow, maybe I could be that too. And that's how people get empowered by these individual channels, is by someone models it, and then the other person says, wow, gives them permission to maybe be apart from the crowd. During this time period, I'd expect people to actually be dressing differently from the crowd. I have this channel all the time, so I'm dressing differently every day. Anyway, and then on the 15th, the Sun joins Mercury in the 8th gate, and then the Earth moves into the 14th gate, which is down here. And so that Sun-Earth axis then gives us another channel, because this second gate is being activated by the south node of the moon. So we get this channel here, and we get the definition of the sacral center down here, and so this is called, this is the channel of the beat. So along with the channel of inspiration, we're going to have both of those channels until the 20th, and because the Sun-Earth axis moved down to these 2 points, this channel now has gone away, and the Ajna center is no longer part of our diagram. But so basically, on the 15th until the 20th, this is going to add energy to the flow of our own direction in life through experiences that empower others, either directly or indirectly. This will be a time when folks need to follow their inner mission in life. People will surrender more to the rhythm of life rather than making decisions through thinking. And then late on the 20th and early on the 21st, depending on your time zone, the Sun-Earth axis moves again, and this time it's going to move down to the 3420, okay, which gives us another definition here. So we're just going to move these over, because this is no longer going to be defined. This will no longer be defined. The G center will no longer be part of the picture, and it makes that corner and connects up to the throat. And this is called the channel of charisma, and it will be active for the remainder of the Trecena, and this will influence us to become busier in the now, where the things we think about become the experiences we're having. You can expect folks to be deeply involved in their daily activities and actually almost unaware of the expectations of others. people are not likely to even notice how busy they are. And with the possibility of erupting spontaneously without being aware why. I know people who have this channel, and if you kind of question them about, weren't we supposed to do this, and they've gotten so caught up, and sometimes there can be an emotional explosion related to that. But basically, this channel is going to be affecting everybody with this quality of this channel of charisma. So during that time period, there's going to be people are going to just really be in their own little world, sort of this idea of out of sight, out of mind. And so that's the human design transits for this Trecena. And then now I'm going to move into the astrology, and you get it all here, huh? So before I get into the daily energy of the Ahau Trecena, I'd like to look at the major astrological influences. All the planets are appearing to move forward from our vantage point on Earth, except for Saturn and Pluto. We've had those two retrograde for a while now. And they're looking like they're moving in reverse motion. And like I said before, planets don't really move in reverse in their orbit, but they appear to move backwards, much like a car passing a slower moving car. There's a point where the slower moving car appears to be moving in reverse compared to landmarks in the far distance. Saturn appearing to move in reverse can be compared to a time period where we need to recuperate, or we might be doing some backtracking regarding an obstacle in our path. And with Pluto, the planet of transformation through death and rebirth cycle, moving retrograde, this is about reviewing the past, which will really require us to release anything from the past that is a burden to our new path. And Pluto represents death, completion, and in Capricorn, the breakdown of structures to bring about transformation. And I've discussed in the past that the major astrological transit of our lifetimes is going to be Pluto forming a 90-degree angle to Uranus. And I've talked about this in the past. And this is going to be on the 20th, is going to be the third exact square out of 7. And it's interesting because when you look at that chart, Jupiter in that chart is actually conjunct or on the exact same degree as the USA's, the United States, natal Mars. From the chart from July 4th, 1776, 5:10 p.m. in Philadelphia. So this is going to be really significant in discussing the square. So what I think, and I've talked about this a little bit before, is this could mean that the U.S. may engage in an expansive, because that's like Jupiter energy, escalation of communications, Gemini, related to aggression, anger, conflict, competition, to actually military actions, because all of those are ruled by Mars. But for the entire planet, for everybody, no matter what country you're in, this is going to be a time period that breaks down the status quo and relieves us of old habits that have outgrown their usefulness as the pace is really quickening. The chart of the third Uranus-Pluto square has many interesting alignments that should be noted. First we got the Sun moving into Gemini less than 2 hours before the square, which illuminates our intelligence and communications for the time leading up to the fourth square on November 1st. With the Moon in Libra trine the Sun, our emotions will be aligned with the Sun's energy, which really opens up the heart center. Mercury, which rules Gemini, is also in Gemini, which places even more emphasis on genius thinking and communications. This is great because it links in with everything else in the human design we're talking about. And Mercury forms an exact sextile to Uranus and is in conjunct, which means the sextile 60 degrees, in conjunct is 150 degrees. So Mercury's in conjunct 150 degree angle to Pluto, which will expose the dark energies that are no longer able to pull the wool over the eyes of the majority of people, as more and more of us are waking up during this 4-year process of the Pluto-Uranus squares. So this is like I said, I believe that we're going to see a real significant shift this year, where all the masses are going to just say no more to the systems of oppression, whether they're financial, governmental, or religious. And then we've got Saturn in Scorpio, and Saturn in Scorpio in the chart. Um, it will not compromise and it's in a supportive trine, or making a supportive 120-degree angle to Neptune. And so I think this is going to be really a time where people courageously share their truth. This may be this will probably expose our pain, in order to allow healing to occur. The time period between now and November may be really overwhelming in the experiences of human suffering, particularly the suffering of women. This also is indicated. This comes from the fact that there's Venus in Gemini is making a 90-degree square to Chiron in Pisces. Venus is women, Chiron is the wounded healer. A square is very, very challenging. So I think that this time period between the 20th and November 1st is going to be a time period where we're going to be aware of more suffering, and particularly I think that the suffering will be particularly difficult for women. This also indicates major weather changes and other astonishing events as the Pluto-Uranus square continues to break down outdated structures of governments and corporations through the empowerment of individuals who are fighting for change. Just don't expect the media to be covering the revolution. They haven't been so far, and I don't expect them to do it in the future. And as I was considering the square, and Jupiter tightly conjunct the Mars USA chart, like I said, July 4th, 1776, Philadelphia, 5:10 p.m. This brings an expansive force to gamble on aggressive and potentially violent situations. The United States government may foolishly take risks, believing that it can do no wrong, and become hopelessly overextended, and most likely in yet another confrontation or war. I covered more of the implications of this regarding the United States in the last report for One Deer. It's also subtitled The Metaphysics of May 2013. So you might want to reference that video if you're interested in how these alignments are going to impact the United States. Okay, let's look at the daily vibrational energy of the Stresena. Well, we're going to start out on May 10th for One Ahau, or Sun, unity experience through honoring the wisdom and the memory of our ancestors, with the Gemini moon merging with Venus, which is cheerful and warm and gregarious and just wants to get out and socialize. So the 10th it would be a good time to be out with people you really care about. And then the 11th is 2 Imish, or crocodile, which in the Tzolkin, this is about duality experience through nurturing new beginnings. And on that day, we have, from our perspective here on the Earth, that the Sun and Mercury are on the exact same degree. It's called conjunct, which illuminates communications of all kinds. It's positive for being able to get a point across, but it's also good for listening more carefully to the expressions of others. And it's riding the post-new moon energy from the day before, or 2 days before, the 9th. And this may bring commitments and conversations about a new direction. This is really excellent energy on the 11th for starting a new business venture, with Mercury ruling commerce, and it's in the sign of Taurus, which Taurus is about material goods and practical applications of information, which Mercury is about the information. And then on that day, we got the moon in Gemini, challenged by Neptune and stimulated by Uranus. Early in the day, the Neptune energy is really going to be more about daydreams, fantasies that are more important than reality. And later, as it shifts in its angle, we get more pleasant yet restless feelings when Uranus is at a 60-degree sextile to the moon. Um, so it also is going to probably bring sort of a desire to do something excitement, something out of the norm. And then May 12th, we have 3 Eek or wind in the Tzolkin, which is about taking action through communication. And we're talking communication. And on that day, we have the moon in Gemini, which is about communication, merging with Jupiter, which brings good feelings and generosity towards others. And I would expect that this would probably be a day where there's a lot of communication because Jupiter is expansive, and it's and with the moon there, it's really going to amp up the amount of communications that we experience or are involved with. We get to give. We get to give what we give. I'm sorry. We get what we give on the 12th, and so I encourage kindness, friendship, and nurturing support because that's kind of the energy of it. But what you put out there is what you're going to get back. So I would really treat others as you want to be treated. The 13th is for Akbal, or night in the Tzolkin. This is stability through contemplating the stars, with Venus, which is here, is now square to Neptune. So from our perspective here on Earth, that this would be a 90-degree angle from Venus in Gemini to Neptune in Pisces. And this brings an interaction between the planet Venus and its higher octave planet Neptune. Venus is personal love. Neptune is unconditional universal love. This alignment stimulates romantic imaginations, which can be somewhat unrealistic about love and social interactions. Daydreaming is common under this influence, which could lead to artistic expression. The caution here is about expecting loved ones to live up to these impossible romantic ideals and then discovering that you're partnered with a mere mortal. With the Cancer moon, trine Neptune and Saturn, this brings out our innermost subconscious fantasies and daydreams with Neptune. And then as the day moves on, during that time, it's probably not going to be great for accomplishing a lot of work because the daydream is more important than the mundane task. But later, when Saturn comes in, that's when we kind of settle into a more sober, realistic view of life. This is a time when you can start to really get the work done that you kind of blew off in the beginning of the day when Neptune was interacting with the moon. May 14th, 5 Khan, or seed in the Tzolkin, empowerment through planting seeds and making new connections, with the moon in Cancer, challenged by Uranus, opposed by Pluto, and stimulated by Mars. Early in the day, people are likely to act hastily and jump to conclusions, while also feeling deep emotions rising up to the surface. And that's the influence of Pluto and Uranus in challenging the Cancer moon. So this could be really difficult energy in relationships, as it tends to bring up emotional conflicts. And then later, people just want to work independently and may express themselves with courage when the moon is interacting with Mars. The 15th is 6 Chichan, or serpent, being in the flow through being flexible as Mercury moves into Gemini. So it gets right over here and moves into a new sign, which is beneficial because Mercury rules Gemini, and this is going to be really fast energy that will speed up communications, and people will have interest in a wider variety of topics for the rest of the month. When then at the end of the month, Mercury moves into Cancer on the 31st, and it's going to be in Cancer for 10 weeks due to turning retrograde. So to me, it's really interesting that Mercury moved through Taurus in 2 weeks, and then it's going to move through Gemini in 17 days, and then it's going to take 10 weeks to get through Cancer. So it's going to have 10 weeks in the sign of the crab. Anyway, moving into Gemini as it is, there is going to be a curiosity to learn and gather new information. And on that day, we've got the moon in harmony with the sun and Mercury. Early in the day, we have feelings of inner and outer equanimity. And then later in the day, communications and social exchanges pick up related to things that we were sharing common interests. And then May 16th is 7 Kimi, or transformation. And this is about reflection through releasing what no longer serves us. As the Leo moon is challenged by Saturn and in harmony with Venus and supported by Uranus, the day moves through feeling lonely and kind of out of touch with others to later wanting to be with friends and the people we love. And then finally, it's craving emotional excitement and wanting to do something outside the daily routine. And then the 17th, we've got 8 Manik, or deer, balanced through being a service to others, as the moon in Leo is challenged by Mars and harmonizes with Jupiter. The day moves from people feeling irritable and having needless disputes to later wanting to be with old friends and having congenial interactions. May 18th, 9 Lamat, or star. This is about patience experienced through being grateful for abundant relationships. And then that day we have Mercury in a square to Neptune. So from our perspective here on the Earth, the angle is here to Mercury, and then 90-degree angle down to Neptune. Again, squares are challenging. This brings considerable confusion to communications and thinkings. And this will be a time to carefully choose words to avoid being misunderstood. In order to avoid confrontations, folks will be more likely to keep secrets and withhold controversial information. This is a day to be careful in business dealings, as people may be representing what they have to offer. This is positive, though, for studying anything that's like religious or spiritual or mystical. Just make sure you don't get lost down the rabbit hole. And then the 18th, the 19th, is going to be, on the 18th, we'll continue with the 18th, sorry for that point. The 18th also brings Venus and Uranus into a sextile. So we've got Venus here and Uranus over here. So again, from our perspective here on Earth, this is a 60-degree angle. And when we get this wants to break out of the daily routine to spend more time with people who are intriguing. This is fun energy for a party or a fling, but just don't expect any relationship that begins under this transit to be long-lasting, although it could have a revolutionary impact on some aspect of your life. As the first quarter moon is challenged by the Sun and Mercury and opposed by Neptune and in harmony with Saturn, the day begins with challenges to following a daily routine. We seem to have a lot of that kind of energy going on. And then later it shifts to feeling sensitive emotionally, but kind of confused in regards to the accuracy of what's being felt. So you might be getting kind of empathic messages, but you might want to double check or wait till later to see if they really ring true. And then the day wraps up with moods influencing our ability to think rationally, with many of us wanting to just be alone in our thoughts and feelings. And then the 19th is 10 Maluk, or offering in the Tzolkin, manifestation through appreciating creation, as the Virgo moon finds support from Pluto and Mars and is challenged by Venus and Jupiter. The day's emotional energy begins with feelings on a deeper, more intense level, with some pleasant energy though for being with others that we want to know better. And then later it kind of shifts to feeling benevolent and generous to those that are in our immediate environment. And then finally, feeling a little more confident than usual and with the ability to assert ourselves in a more positive manner. May 20th is 11 Akh or dog in the Tzolkin, resolution through enjoying family and friends when the sun enters Gemini. And so if we consider that, the Earth is moving around the circle, at this point the Earth has probably moved down to here so that we can see from the pointer that the sun from our perspective would be in Gemini, which illuminates communications. And so what we've got with the stellium or group of planets moving through the sign of the twins, the energy gets very fast. It's highlighting intelligence and adaptability as information flows at a more increased rate. And here we are. We've got to the third Uranus-Pluto square. So again, from our perspective here on Earth, we have a 90-degree angle from Pluto to Uranus. Like I said, this is the real biggie of our lifetimes. And the third exact square between Uranus and Pluto, it brings up themes of revolution and transformation, tension between the material and spiritual worlds, upheaval, along with death and rebirth, are particularly potent at this time. And the acceleration of transformation is related to revolution and the evolution. These energies are increasing exponentially. This is the peak of the energy for unexpected changes as old ways and old structures are crumbling to prepare for transformation. This is one of the undercurrents that will be the most powerful during the continuing challenging squares between Uranus in Aries and Pluto in Capricorn, and this square is at 11 degrees. So you might want to know where that is in your chart and see if any of your particularly personal planets are being affected. These challenging angles between Uranus, the planet of disruption, revolution, and unexpected change, in Aries, the sign of the individual, challenging Pluto, the planet of death and destruction, but also rebirth, in the sign of Capricorn, representing structures, including governments and corporations, is the most powerful transit of our time. These two titans have exact confrontations, an amazing 7 times between 2012 and 2015. Usually this type of transit occurs 3 or 5 times. 7 times is unusual and very intense. And as I've said it before, the world is going to be a very different place by the end of 2015 and moving into 2016. Also on the 20th, we have Mercury sextile Uranus. So again, from our looking here on Earth, here's Mercury, and it's making an angle to its higher octave planet of Uranus. This is a 60-degree angle in the sextile. Again, so this is Mercury is the lower mind, and Uranus is the higher mind, the universal mind. This can be very exciting, and our personal awareness is expanded into larger consciousness of the universal mind. This is very fast energy in thinking and in communications, and it could lead to a quantum leaps of faith, or on the other side, people may be getting overwhelmed by all this new information. It's a good day to look at an old problem with a new perspective. This will be a difficult day to follow anything routine. You may begin the day with one expectation of how the day is going to unfold and where it's going to go, only to find at the end of the day that you ended up in doing something completely different. On that day, we've got the moon in Virgo, and it finds support from the sun, which gives a sense of harmony in ourselves, and it supports any type of group activity and relationships, particularly relationships with the opposite sex, because we've got the moon and the sun. The 21st is 12 Shuin, or monkey, understanding through creating something new, with the Libra moon being challenged by Pluto, opposed by Uranus, and finding support from Mercury and Venus. Early in the day, we have the compulsion to act in ways that are not good for us in the long run, with folks feeling emotionally excitable and impulsive. And then later, we're more in touch with our feelings and more able to like share them with others. And then finally, the day kind of wraps up with pleasant feelings along with enjoying social interactions. And then the last day of the Trecena is May 22nd, 13 ebb or road in the Tzolkin, movement to the next stage through serving your community, as we have Mercury squaring Chiron, which may be really kind of mentally restless on the personal but also on the global stage. And on that day, we have the moon in Libra, trine Jupiter, so having support from Jupiter, which brings a pleasant sense of well-being, along with the warmth and friendly interactions for those in our immediate environment. So anyway, no matter what energies are affecting you during this one sun Trecena, take some time out to be in the flow of the planet by being in nature, watching a sunrise or a sunset, communing with the stars, being conscious of the moment through introspection or meditation, or being with somebody you love, but doing it consciously. Every single day we have is a blessing, no matter what the dramas are that are beckoning to distract us. We just have to realize that while we're giving our performance of our lifetime on the world stage, we also need to take some time out to observe the play, and as well as act our part. Don't get caught up so much in just doing your role in the play. Step back, observe, watch yourself go through the experience, and so that you can remember that you're a spiritual being that's having this human experience. Anyway, I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of Care and Feeding of a New World Age will be on May 23rd for One Ben, which is reed or corn in the Tzolkin. We're also going to discuss the Sagittarius full moon and lunar eclipse, and Mercury moving into Cancer, followed by Mars moving into Gemini, and Venus moving into Cancer. You can check us out on Facebook or YouTube or the Mayan Magics website. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as texts, the text of what's in the scripts here, as widely as you choose. And as always, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com. If you have any questions or you wish to schedule a reading. And I am providing readings, and really I want to make this service available to the greatest amount of folks. So what I've done is I've created 3 different options with 3 levels of compensation. These readings are designed to provide you the information that's going to help you navigate these difficult times. At the very basic level, we'll look at your human design chart to help you understand how to use your individual strategy and authority in making decisions based on your unique design. I include 3 months of astrological transits as they relate to your natal and progressive astrology charts, along with the human design reading at the middle level. And then at the top level, the human design and astrology transit reading will be recorded and then sent to you as an MP3 file that can be downloaded to your computer so that you can listen to it over and over again. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these times of uncertainty. You need to be either able to call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. Also, I'm accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. Recently, I've had to take up some other work, which is going to start to limit the amount of time I have to create these. I'm hoping that I'll still have enough time to put these reports out in the future. But one thing that you could do is if you can make a donation or get a reading, that's how we're funded here at New World Birth, and that's how we keep this service available out on the web. As always, I am blessed that you've taken the time out to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste and Lakesh. And I look forward to connecting during one Ben or read for our next report. Anyway, all the best to you folks, and I hope to hear from you.